busier, and who knows? But it is game day week 2. I keep on thinking it's week 3. Reality is week 3, but really it's week 2.
I thought it's week 1 because
wait a minute.
week 0.
Well, no, 0, and then we had last week was week 1.
1.
So this would be 2, but technically it's the 3rd weekend of college football. But really,
right?
We'll say it's week 2. But Tim, we got our shirts on. We got our gridiron shirts on.
Looking good.
We are looking good. Look at that. I like the baby blue color. I would say maybe, yeah, that's not bad, right?
No, you look good. You look great.
Yeah. So cheers. You're buffering a little bit over there on that side. Maybe it's just my reception.
I'll move the potato Wi-Fi I got here. Move around a little bit.
So both of us, we've had busy days. We're going to squeeze this one in. I had Chris on yesterday. Yeah. So Chris came on and we talked a little bit about the Game Changer Award, and he's all excited and making it his own. I know that we have some dates coming up that I'll be able to announce probably next week for Mohegan Sun. So we got some pretty cool things happening on what we want to do around each one of those. Hopefully we'll have any given season tagging into us with us so we can talk bowl games, bowl season. So you could start seeing kind of who frames. I think you have to win 6 games and then you're bowl game eligible. So they have their countdown, like they have a whole promotion around it. So we're trying to figure out kind of that mid-October dates, and then hopefully doing something around an All-American announcement date as well, and bringing in some alums. So yeah, that's all going to be brought to you by Coke Bottling from New England or the Northeast. I think it's New England, Coke Bottling, New England. If I got that wrong, I'll just edit this part out. So, what's your thoughts, man? I know you went on a little rant today or yesterday about the red zone. What are you thinking?
Man. Well, man, honestly, what hurt me the most was, Stream East too, because you're on the go, right? You got to watch something quickly. No, I don't partake in that. I'm not going to say I partake in that on camera here. Pirate. But I know I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that do it. But red zone. I mean, at the end of the day, the NFL has this amazing product that is red zone, and the catch of it is there's no commercial, there's no advertisement. It is football purely for the football fan. And once it got sold to ESPN, you kind of knew that something was in the works there. What I think everyone was mad about was that they weren't even going to attempt to do the banner ads, right? Keep playing the game as it's going.
Oh, the box.
They're saying they're going to.
Yeah.
The Octobox. What they're doing is it's regular highlights. It's a regular show now with commercial breaks here and there. For the average fan, you don't love it. You don't love to hear that. You want that pure product. I get the business aspect of it, and you're a business guy too. So, I mean, you could probably talk a little bit about that. But, for the true fan who just wanted a good product for the fan, it feels like I got ripped away from us a little bit. So, I went on a little tangent the other day. But
you were fired up.
I was a little fired up about that. I was a little fired up about it because, just the NFL is just growing and growing and growing. And they could leave that. They don't need. I get the money aspect, but they don't need to outsource that. That was such a good product on the NFL Network too. But times are changing. It is what it is.
The other side of the argument on this is people who, especially if you come from the media industry, the one thing about it is you're supposed to be Switzerland, right? You're supposed to play neutral. And it was always, you always had the argument that if I had a property like I ran, I was GM for an arena football team, up in Albany, New York. And we spent a lot of money with certain radio stations and the newspaper. That's when you had traditional advertising, right? So you kind of go in that route. And it was really about, God forbid they wrote a bad article about you or there was bad coverage. You would call up and they wouldn't even, you talk to the editor and they're like, no, well, that's what's happened. That's what we just reported. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't like the opinion. And they're like, who cares? You
Yeah.
just send your check in. It doesn't matter. It's advertising. It's the media
Mhm.
world, but it's changed. So now when you have ESPN that owns this property, and now what comes out of that is, kind of a skewed opinion. It's not neutral anymore. And now
Yeah.
that you own a piece of that, you have some equity in the league. But anyways, so I did not know that they were going to break for commercials now, right? So they're going to break, and they're not doing the pop-up box anymore.
From what that it seems like they're doing the full commercial breaks. I think if they were attempting to do the advertisement around the box, I don't think people would be as mad.
Yeah.
But they might be doing both. I think Red Zone was doing the around the box last year at some points, just testing the waters. But I mean, the host went on and said, "Yeah, we're gonna have some commercials. It's not 7 hours of commercial free football anymore."
Oh,
But that is a good point you just made, though. I mean, there is two sides to every coin. So
well, I mean, especially in the media industry like this, and you start aggregating, you get closer. So it's almost like you're investing in yourself now. So those broadcast rights deals make a little bit more sense in some instances. I kind of understanding some things of how that part of the world works. I did work for Disney Media for a long time, and but things change, and the business model has changed a lot too. And you don't know what kind of content now, because they have the broadcast rights, the media rights to certain games. I don't know what's built into the red zone. So right, so it's even if I'm not a broadcast partner, or I'm if I don't, like, it all comes down to who owns the licensing rights to those highlights. Right. So
yeah,
right. So you could cut out kind of part of what the red zone is broadcasting, because now you're aggregating all your media feeds, all your broadcast feeds into one. So I guess essentially that ESPN has bought those, right? Even if it's on, CBS and Fox, so you still have to
yeah,
get permission to show those highlights. But I think now, because they have the red zone, maybe they don't. I don't know all of that. If you know, please leave a comment. But that's
yeah,
usually how it works.
yeah, yeah. I think it's also a little bit too is that all the games now are on so many different apps and channels, so it's tough.
Yeah, so we're just gonna have to start our own pirate streaming service.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll call.
Gridiron
Well,
1880 freaking live. We
yeah,
could have our own. We could have our own red zone, right?
yeah, exactly. Well, I kind of segues fairly well into the question I had for
Yeah.
you, Rob, is that why now for Gridiron 1880 Network? Why is this a good time now, in light of everything that we were just talking about with the media and how college football and NFL has just basically taken over the whole sports landscape? So talk to us a little bit about
I
that.
think it's guys like you, Tim, who figured out that the point of entry into being a broadcast professional, it's like you don't have to spend 4 years at Syracuse anymore to get a job. You create your own job. You create your own channel. You create your own following. And I think that the content ecosystem, the digital creator ecosystem, has never been better, than it is now. I think NIL has opened up eyes to you and the guys who you've played with for the last. Rob is one of them. Jared is one of them, right? Kobe's another one. In the last 4 or 5 years, and you had the permission now to go explore things because of NIL, and it's led you here. Chris is another one. There's so many guys out there who've taken this. So if it wasn't for there's an easier point of entry into this thing, that you could build out our own network. I mean, we could have 100 digital creators next year doing this with us, and if you provide it's easy to do this, right? It's easy to get a subscription to
Mhm.
Riverside, and it's easy to kind of blast it out there, and you guys could figure it out what you have. What's not easy to do is go out and sell sponsorship. It's not right.
Mhm.
And then form partnerships with like a Walter Camp, right? So you have access to exclusive content, right? So other than that, you're just spitting out the same stuff that everybody else is spitting out, But
Yeah,
now you have an entrance point to go interview John Randall, right? You would
yeah,
never have had that before. So it's just like the NFL NFL has created their own media network, so has NBC, so has everybody else. And essentially, this is Walter Camp creating their own media network under the banner of Gridiron 1880. So that's why I think it's the timing is perfect. And I've done this on the other side of it, where you've actually had to buy other people's websites, and right, so you're outlaying a lot of capital. You hope that the people that the groups that you just bought, that their content is going to stay good and consistent and all that other stuff, and it's harder to manage. This right here it's a great way to do it. So anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the whole sports media landscape is changing right now, and I think content creators are the future. I think I love sports journalism, and there are some really amazing sports journalists. I mean, Pablo Torres just broke that story about the Clippers yesterday, which was a fantastic piece of sports journalism. But I just think it takes a different it's a different form now. People are just always getting their voices out and their perspectives out. And at the end of the day, that is what journalism is all about. So I think there is a group of us that are taking our chances, betting on ourselves, and just putting ourselves out there and trying to meet the right people, trying to network. And we're really happy that you guys recognize that.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're a talented dude, and so you kind of see where your head is with it, where it's going now. But I think this has taken off over for a lot of what used to be kind of talk radio. So everybody would listen to the if you're from the New York metropolitan area, fan was kind of like, that's everybody. It's Mike and with ESPN. And so I think you find your niche and you find your audience, and it may not be a wide, but it could be deep. Even if you have 200, 300 loyal followers that are going to just hang on to everything you say and follow and make a comment, that starts building a really, really solid foundation. So you'll see if the thing that may work for us is, now that we're going to do half a season of you and I just doing talking heads every week, by the time we get to Mohegan Sun, we may have a little group, a group that says, hey, I've been following you guys, and they're going to come up, right? They're going to come up for the day, and they're going to hang out, and, and we get to hang out with them and be a part of it. It's a community. That's all it is. So, but when you start building out multiple of these, it's kind of like you start your own little, not a franchise, but, you got different channels. Just like you have in the old days, you're just kind of clicking through, and, there's Tim. I really like Tim's stuff, and there's Chris's stuff, and there's Jared's stuff, and there's Rob's stuff, and everybody has their own style. And, so it's never been better before than it is now. Anybody could do it. All you have to do is put some effort behind it, right? And you got to figure out how to distribute it. That's the hardest part. And you got to stay consistent with it, so.
Yeah. What do you think the future is going to look like for that? Do you think at some point it's going to get too saturated? And how can someone distinguish themselves in a market like that?
I think it's already too saturated. It's confusing. It's like, I don't even watch regular linear TV anymore because there's so many. Where do I go for that movie again? Where's that show again? Is it on? Right? It's so, I think you get so used to, you dial in on, who are the 4 or 5 go-tos. And I don't know. I just think it's so cluttered right now. It's almost confusing I think for us, you think about your own behavior, your own kind of content, consumption. You pretty much stick with like 4 or 5, and you get bored of them after a while, right? You say, oh, there's the new thing. And you kind of flip over to that. And then all of a sudden this nostalgia hits you, and you go back again. And there's Rob and Tim again. What are they talking about? What are those 2 good idiots talking about, right? But that's how it works, and so is it watered down? I think you're going to have new fresh faces come in, and I think the old one, if you have talent and you have somewhat of ability to kind of get your point across and not offend too many people in a lot of ways. But we don't have that kind of style that we're going to be controversy, and we're not going to spark a lot of debate. No. We might hopefully find some, get some really good guests on as this goes and cranks along, and hopefully it's compelling enough and interesting enough, to take a look, and we'll try to understand what the hell I have in my warehouse back here. It's like, what's that box of, what is that in there? What's in that box? So anyways, yeah.
But yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the All-American vote this
Yeah.
year, and what can we expect for that during the season?
I think I'll give you an example. The thing that really excites me is, when you and D1 Rejects and Kobe and all that group, and you guys start talking about the Division II players of the week and the Division III players of the week, there's such a passionate core group of alums and folks and families and parents that still really know who the great the great D2, D3 schools are. And now this is the first time they can vote for the All-Americans at those levels, and rally their friends and family and teammates behind certain guys. It gives you so much more to talk about, right? Because there's going to be a dashboard, so you could see everybody that's voting for whoever. It's going to look, you guys are going to be able to pull up and say, here's our top 10 top voted quarterbacks this year. And it's going to make other people aware of schools and players that they never would have really thought about, because they're probably outside of their conference anyways. Not unless they're like really hardcore like you guys. But for the most part, your parents or whatever are going to follow the kids in your conference. So I think the fan vote is going to be much more than just the branding of Walter Camp, because Walter Camp, obviously, it's not just Division I. He's the founding father, so it's everybody. But I think the engagement, the interest, the statistics, and the talking points and content that's going to be in there is going to spark much more conversation, and certainly going to give guys like you and Kobe so much more to talk about. When you have something to kind of look for, then you start getting towards the middle of the season when things really start getting heated up and people are really kind of going after. I believe everybody's going to get a maximum of 10 votes. Yeah. So, and I think that might be 10 votes per position.
Okay.
So you could vote 10 times, basically.
Yeah.
So when you go in once, you could vote for all different levels, anybody you want. Then you could go in 9 more times after that. The idea is, as the season goes, you may change your mind. You may want to switch votes, or you may want to stack all your votes on your favorite player.
Right. Some guys fall off, some guys come up. That's a good ingredient that's put in there. What do you think the overall goal is? What is it? Recognition? Is it promoting Walter Camp? Is it getting the fans' perspective, or everything combined? You touched on it a little bit, but what if you could sum up the goal of it all? What would it be?
I think it's no different than American Idol. It's everybody wants to have a say. And you have your favorite person, and you just want to be able to say, I voted for that person. I want to have a little bit of like, I had something to do with it because I've been a fan. So that's the number one goal. And that goes to marketing 101 and branding. But it also is data capture, right? So we're going to be able to capture data of the people, the fans that vote, and the families and the other players and everybody that votes. So we're going to start building this community of folks that are passionate college football fans. So we'll be able to then redirect. Hey, we're going to, we got our merch we're selling. We have other programs we're going to be up at Mohegan Sun. We're going to be at a bowl game. So it helps us with that as well. And hey, reminders, newsletters, so we're no different than any other business, right? So we're out there kind of collecting all this info. So, I know most 80% of people are going to give us that Yahoo account or the AOL.com account, well, but that's all right. So it's all part of it.
Yeah. And did you catch any of the games this weekend? Anything you saw this weekend that stood out to you?
I just, the one thing that always blows my mind, because I look at things differently, I still can't believe at this point that Miami hasn't built a stadium on or near their campus, And I think I have a different view of things when I look at the business of college football, just college football in general. But it always blows my mind that UConn and UMass and in Miami are the two colleges, Power Four, Group 5 colleges that do not have stadiums on their campus. I mean, it used to be the Orange Bowl for Miami, and it was closer, right? It's closer than Hard Rock, and you would have to. There was no parking, so you'd have to park in people's backyards, and it was kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, I parked one time, and I came back out. My entire car was like loaded with laundry. Like the family just put laundry all over the cars, like the dry. I was like, what? There, right. There's socks all over my windshield. Could you, lady, come get them?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think to be taken seriously and have the full college experience, you got to have you got to be on campus. So that was the one thing I
Yeah.
noticed, and I think that's the one thing that's really holding Miami back, to be honest with you, from being there again. And I think that's a part of it. That's definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
So a parody. The parody now that I don't think the SEC is going to dominate for the next how many years they've already dominated, and it shows you how important a really, really good head coach and a quarterback is, right? So especially a head coach, and you're not going to win them all the time, but you get someone. I just think the parity of it now with guys being able to bounce around a lot, I think it's going to be pretty cool because it's going to spread it out, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, how about you? What did you see?
Well, talking about coaches, right? Talk about Bill Belichick, man. What
It's
was
weird.
that?
It's weird.
What? It's not a good situation. I didn't think it was going to be a good situation. I wanted to see if he could adjust to the college game, but I just think like Nick Saban got out of the college game for reasons because of how it's changing, and Bill Belichick threw himself right into it while he had never done it before, or at least for a long, long time. So I don't see that working out. I think that might be a 1 year thing. I did not like what I saw this weekend. I think Bill Burr went on the Rich Eisen show today and said, did you see? He's like, Rich Eisen said, what do you think about Bill Belichick coaching North Carolina? He goes, what do you think about Joe Namath in a Rams jersey? It's like, pretty much, yeah, that's basically it. And so I do not see that working out. I feel bad for the kids in North Carolina who went there for him. I mean, it's very early in the season, but they got dominated. They got absolutely dominated.
There's a reason why he's not coaching in the NFL. I think when you're that good and that as an NFL coach and you cannot get another head job in the NFL, what does it tell you?
Times have changed. Times have moved past.
Yeah, and the owners, the reputation of how difficult I'm assuming that he was to deal with, and sometimes I'm sure Kraft was kind of, thank you very much for your service, but see you later. Probably ready to move on. And then you start losing. You're like, oh, geez, I could have put up with Mr. Grouchy Pants for a little while longer. But the whole thing to me, the whole thing to me, I think like everybody else, it's weird. It's so awkward. It's so uncomfortable to see this whole, for just the relationship, the on the sidelines. I mean, nothing. And it's not like UNC is. I mean, they're a blue blood kind of school, And to your point, I mean, someone's going to stroke a check for $20 million and say goodbye. Like the sideshow is not worth it.
Like you just said, it's a blue blood program, and I get they haven't been relevant in the football world for a long time. Even when they have Lawrence Taylor and all those guys, right? They were never really a dominant program, especially in the ACC. So it seemed to me that they just kind of gave him the keys and were just kind of like, you do you. You're the greatest coach of all time, at least NFL wise. Here's the keys to the kingdom. And he has just made it, like you said, a sideshow. The girlfriend thing is so weird. It's so weird. But man, I don't know how that's going to tail out this season. That might fan out fast.
There is, and I think they're already probably blowing up the ADs. So whoever put pressure on the AD to make a decision about this is now calling him up and said, "Oh, I think Mea Koopa. I think we may screw that one up." And it all came down to them wanting to make a splash. The AD wanted to make a name for himself, and decided, let's get someone with a big name. How great is this going to be? So I think, if you've ever been in that position before, it's real, and sometimes
Yeah.
you can't ultimately make the decision you want, or which the ones that you think that you need to make. You can't bring in someone who is kicking butt, the coach who, the guy that was at Assumption, then he went to Holy Cross, and then he went to, where's he at, James
That
Madison?
guy's he's what was it?
Bob, what?
What's his name? Oh, he's a great coach.
Unbelievable
He's
coach.
fantastic.
Yeah, great.
He's going to be a Power 4 coach at some
He
point.
would be, but to bring him into, say, North Carolina, it would
Mm-hmm.
not aesthetically look good at the beginning, right? And so it's
Right,
all about
right.
the perception and the aesthetics when you get to that level. Forget the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he probably would have been able to put you in a better position to win. The alums would love him. The players would love him. And then on the other side, you bring in a 70-something-year-old, right, grouchy guy who has a reputation of just not being a good guy. And with his 24-year-old girlfriend, it's like, at what point do you put a red flag and say, let's all use common sense here, folks? Like, let's
Yeah.
use common sense. God bless him. What what the guy pulled off in the NFL was, was it him
That
or
was
was it
unreal.
Tom Brady? It was a combination of two. It was his coaching staff was amazing, and it was good. It was a good
Yeah.
combo, and they had an unbelievable owner, right? So
Yes.
it worked.
It was a perfect storm. I mean, it was a perfect storm in New England, but I don't think that culture and all those guys, except for Tom Brady, went on to win a Super Bowl outside of New England. I just don't think that ever worked outside of that building, because you look at all the coaches that went off, Matt Patricia, Josh McDaniel, these guys did not have long coaching careers at all. And everyone goes right back to New England. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it worked in one place, but it's not going to work everywhere. And I mean, we'll see. It is a long season. We're talking like the season's over here, but it is a long season, so we will see. But it's not pro football. It's a completely different game.
When you lose the players in the locker room, it's over. And when the
Yeah.
players start losing respect, excuse me, I'm getting all verklempt. And I think the players just think it's a sideshow too. So I mean, their facilities are unbelievable. It's a great school. It's a fun place to be. But now that they're just making fun of him behind his back now, and it's over. I mean, the NFL, when you got NFL players and those guys would roast him all the time behind his back, right? And they had great stories about him. It's the NFL. It's a job. And they're mature guys, and they're grown men. They get, like a 17, 19, 20-year-old kid has a hard time to overcome all of that. And if you're not winning,
Right.
you lost them. And you're in adult guys. I mean, there's some great stories that Matt tells about kind of having confrontations with Belichick and trying to explain to him how he should be hunting in the back of the stadium. And Belichick didn't even say one word to him. He kind of talked himself out of it. And it's like, a 19-year-old kid needs communication, like not just do your job. You need to be reaffirmed on things, whether you're doing it well or not just calling the kid a swear word. And, that doesn't work in college. And that's what he's bringing to the table. And it's just not going to work. It's not going to work.
And the ACC is looking great right now. The ACC is in a really good spot right now. Clemson, Miami's in there. I mean, there's some teams in there that can make some real noise in the postseason this year. So,
and Syracuse is not a pushover. So they're not a pushover. They're going to play you. I think the last 3 or 4 years have been doing all right. So yeah, I mean, it's the parity that we talked about. The parity that we talked about: Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana. Wisconsin. The Iowa State, all these guys, it's getting there. It's getting there again. So anyways, that is definitely some fun stuff to talk about. So yeah, Tim, just all of this, you just never know where any of this is going to go, but I don't think I've ever been more fired up for what's happening in college football, especially with the playoffs. I think it
Yeah.
could be as popular or more popular. Chris brought up a good point yesterday. It was like, there's a lot of basketball teams that go into national championship. You got the Gonzagas of the world that's going to sneak up on you. And there's always a Cinderella story. He goes, it's not that way in football. I'm like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? I think the playoff does add that aspect to it, though. I mean, we're gonna if this is going to be the future of college football, there's going to be some Cinderella teams at some point. I mean, look at Boise State last year. Did they get pumped? They did, but they put up a good fight. And if you let this go on for 20 plus years, some Boise State might make a run here and there. It might happen. But I think that was always my thing with college football. I never liked how there was only a certain sample of teams that were good enough to win. I like expanding it. I like getting the smaller schools getting a chance because those fan bases are fired up all the time. Giving Iowa State a chance at a national championship. When's the last time they've been in contention ever? You know what I mean? So, and it's also like you said before, the transfer portal is putting those players on SEC teams, on other teams. So it's very, very competitive across the board. I'm a huge fan of expanding the playoffs. I love it. I love the Cinderella stories. And I think you're right. I think it could be bigger than March Madness.
Just the amount of revenue from additional let's be honest, that's what it's going to come down to, right? So it's the additional revenue streams that's going to come through, right? It's the broadcast rights deals. It's getting more bowl games involved. I think the first round of the playoffs needs to be at the highest seed home field advantage, right? Not at a bowl game. But I think the expansion from sponsors, ticket sales, just all of it is going to drive that decision more than anything else. And you're right. I mean, what happens if you get a kid like what happened in what was it, Vanderbilt? You get that kid who gets hot. And in college football, man, you get a great quarterback in there, you get a decent defense, and anything could happen because once you get to that level, everybody can catch the ball, right? So everybody can kick field goals. So it as long as you got a hot quarterback in there, but so
yeah. If you put all the pieces together, magic can happen.
Magic can happen. There's no doubt about it. Speaking of magic, this new software that we're using has this little feature, and it's called Magic, and it actually edits all this down to like 4 minutes, 30-second features. It's pretty cool. You just press a little magic button. So
nice.
Anyways, Tim, you had a long day today, I could tell. So you had a long day. It's ending up now. Thank you for spending the time with us, everybody, for watching and listening. And we look forward to this weekend. We'll get back to you next week. You're watching Walter Camp Game Day. That's Tim. I'm Rob. We'll see you next week, everybody. Later. Stop. Boom. Thank you, brother.